on the lines of conversation, love questions, love talking. I'm one guy. This is my set of opinions, and this is my set of way I do things and what's worked for me. But results may vary, and I think that's part of the why we enjoy work with everybody in these communities is because we get a chance to share a lot of ideas. I won't waste a lot of time talking about my background. That's we're all out here doing the same thing, hustling and trying to use our skills to grow businesses and to grow our craft. So we won't need to go into all that. I will say I started doing fairs and craft shows. I guess I've been in this business now for 14 years, about 14 years. And the first year or two, I avoided craft shows. I avoided fairs. I avoided markets because really it was kind of scary. The idea of putting myself out there in front of other people and getting feedback. That was really tough. Um, uh, However, once I overcame that fear, the benefit of doing it far outweighed almost at many times it outweighed the profit you got, the money you got from doing these events. The benefit you got from actually talking to customers firsthand, looking at them in their eyes, seeing how they react to your products, seeing how they react to your brand and yourself, I think was more beneficial when I was starting than anything else. Obviously, money is one of the things that we're looking for. We're all looking trying to turn a profit, but there's different ways to get there, and sometimes a straight line between your workbench and profit. It doesn't always have to happen that way. Sometimes you got to be a little more strategic about it. So let's get into this. I'm going to cover a few different areas about pop-ups and markets. I'm going to talk about the why. We're going to talk about our product mix. What are we going to bring to these shows? Our booth setup, pricing, and a few other things. And feel free to ask questions as we go. I love questions. It helps me ramble a bit. And it just makes for a much more casual conversation because, again, we're all trying to do this together. So why? Why do we go to these markets? I think most people will probably say initially they want to go to these markets because they want to make money, right? They want to sell a ton of stuff. That's good. I mean, this is all a capitalistic endeavor for most of us. We're not just artists trying to put the art in the world. We're trying to do art, but we're also trying to make a profit at it. But I would also ask you to look at things and say, well, it's also a way for you to take a long trail way to get to some other goal. For me, the goal was one, I want to get feedback. I want to see, do I actually have anything of value that the marketplace, the people in front of me, my neighbors, this community of people I'm going to be presenting my products to, do they value anything I'm doing, right? Do they value the widgets I'm making? Do they like the things I'm doing? That was like the first thing, because if I'm just going to be in my garage, and the time back then it was my garage making whatever it is at the time, and I think it's cool, but no one else thinks it's cool, it's gonna be a tough road ahead, right? Haven't quite found my community just yet. So being able to see people's reaction to me firsthand was very important. Which products were they looking at? Was it the whole table? Was it the widgets on this side? Was it the belts over here? Was it the bags? What was intriguing? And then past that, it was also getting people to say, yeah, I picked this item up. They thought it was too expensive. They thought it was of great value. They liked the brown rivets. They liked the red leather. Whatever the variables are, how do they feel about those things? These are all valuable things. So it's not just, the profit. If it costs you a bit of money to go to the show, obviously you want to break even. That's a great thing to do. But don't judge your success in these markets solely on the money, right? These are things that grow. Jumping ahead a little bit, I'll tell you what I was doing when I first started doing pop-ups and markets 15 years ago. Every market thereafter changed. It got refined. And now we go to do markets. We don't even bring the whole store out. We basically bring hey, we're going to do bags of this event. We're going to do belts of this event. We're going to do keychains of this event. We've just narrowed it in. And there's some questions. We'll talk about those questions in a moment about how we choose what we're going to bring and when. But the value for us is, again, getting the feedback. And then there's a long trail investment after that. So brand awareness. Let's talk about brand awareness real quick. For me, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's no way I'm going to hit all the customers I want to hit this year just by going to markets, right? However, markets are a great place to get my brand out there in the marketplace. So I'm going to see customers there at the market. They're going to come to me. They're going to talk to me. They may buy something. They may not buy something. But when they leave, I want them to remember me. When they see me next time, when they see a bag of mine next time, when they see something that is jogs their memory about my brand, that's a win for me. May not have resulted in a sale there during the show, but they'll come back later. Now, I actually do have retail stores. So actually, it's even more valuable for me today, where I sit today, is for them to leave and then come back to me later. For me to get an email address, for me to get a name, for me to get a phone number that I can text them to, and for them to come back to one of my stores later, or even online. Online would be even better because there's lower overhead online. Obviously, the margins are better. That's better than me selling a single widget at an event, right? I judge things a little differently, and I encourage you to do that also. Don't just judge it on one variable. You got to open yourself up to have some other things available to you there. Okay, so brand awareness is a really big one. Now, talking about brand awareness, if you can't really push brand awareness if you don't really know who your brand is. And I know this isn't a brand call. We're not really talking today about how to set up our brands. That's another set of classes we can do at a later date. But you really should consider, what is your brand? What's the brand presentation?
Odin, I
Somebody
have a
asked a
quick,
question.
hey, it's Janie. See, I have a quick
Hey,
question.
Janie.
Back to the pop-ups and the markets. Which one do you think does better, the pop-up or the market? One that's
Yeah.
been there a while, or one that just kind of comes in and takes? Which one would you go to if you had one decision?
No, that's a great question. We're going to get there because that's something you need to consider. Not every market and pop-up that comes your way is good for you to go to, right? If I can't see everyone's faces here, but probably if some of you've already been doing this and you've kind of chased your tail a bit, you've gone to a lot of them and you're like, this is crap, this didn't work, this whatever, right? Well, you start to learn what questions to ask. So I can, this is when the brand piece is important. You need to know who you are, right? You need to know, by knowing who you are, what brand you want to present to the world, and you start figuring out who your target audience is, who your customers are. You can start asking yourself questions like, well, which markets and which pop-ups should I be going to? For instance, for me, if I was invited to a pop-up for a Girl Scout troop and they're doing crafts at the market, and there's going to be a lot of ladies that are selling doilies and things like that, I'm going to ask those questions up front. That's not going to be a good place for me, because people are going to that market looking to buy trinkets and support the local Girl Scout troop and spend $5 here, $6 there, right? I show up with a $400 or $500 bag. They're like, no, that's not what we're here for. We didn't bring that type of money to this event. Got to ask yourself those questions. Markets, pop-ups, shows. Some of those terms are used fairly loosely and interchangeably at times. It's the same set of questions you want to ask. How big is the event? How long has the event been going on? Who is the target audience of that event, right? Who typically goes? Who are the other vendors that are going to be there, right? If you ask that question, they say the other vendors going to be there is going to be Mary, and she makes doilies, and my niece from down the road there, and she makes Legos or 3D printed objects, whatever. You're trying to figure out, is there room for me in this event? Is our customers going to be here ready to spend money that I need to spend on my products? Only you can ask the question. Only you can judge whether or not you're getting good answers. For me, again, I'm looking to make sure that if I go to the market, there better be enough people there ready to spend money in the range in which I need to be. For me, that's probably in the $90 range to $300 range, depending on which event we're going to. If they're not doing that, then it may not be a good spin for you to go. And sometimes I will choose to go to a show just because of the brand awareness piece. I may not expect to sell much of anything, but being there, being present, being able to talk to everyone that walks by, being able to say, hey, don't forget leathergoods.com, follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, all those different things I'll talk about. That may be the value that I'm after for that event, and that's fine, right? But you do need to have some goals. What's your goal? And then you apply those questions and make sure you're picking the right markets to go to. Let me pause real quick. James, did that answer your question? Does that start to answer your question a little bit? I know you're driving, so she may not be able to
They may
respond.
drove into a lake. Along those lines, especially if this is somebody's first time going to a pop-up or a market. In the early days, did you ever go and check out an event that had maybe invited you before just to kind of get an idea of where you wanted to go?
Well, my
Before
first,
you jump on that, Odin, I heard you. It was great. I just couldn't find the unmute button, but you did answer the question exactly what I wanted to hear.
well, I'm a happy man then. I got to make sure you're happy for
Oh,
sure.
yeah, you better. And guess what? There's an email in your email box, and you better get on it. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, guys. I got to get off the call right now and go check that email. So, no. All right. Great. So, Derek, what was your question?
I guess did you just go to markets just to kind of see where might be a good place, or is that a good idea?
Yeah, let me answer it in a long form way. Initially, no, I didn't. I had no clue what I was doing, to be honest with you folks. I mean, I was out there just flailing, just trying to do my best, right? I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything about markets. It wasn't really a consumer market. I didn't go to the markets. I mean, that's not something I woke up on a Saturday and said, let's go to the local craft market or the high school. I didn't do any of that. So I had to learn as I go. And that's how most of this is going to be done. You got to learn as you go. And hopefully I'm going to give you some tips today and have you think and ask yourself some questions that may help you get through that learning curve faster. But initially, no, I didn't really have anything to judge these events on. I did, however, jump on a few different things. One of them was the craft show. In fact, in hindsight, it was called a craft show, right? I should have known right then and there, ooh, this is going to be a tough one. Crafts, arts and crafts, kids, grandmas, may not be right for me. Yes, it's in this right town. In that case, one thing about was in Fort Worth, right? It was a good town for me to be in, but it was the wrong type of event. People were not coming there to spend that type of money. I need you to spend $300, and they're looking to spend $5-6. Not going to happen. Okay. Not a good spin. There or other things like I would say something that's always worked out well for me is the farmers market. And we have a really great farmers market in our town. It happens every weekend, every Saturday, and one Saturday a month. They allow for vendors that don't just do produce and meat and things like that. They also do other wares and goods provisions. And I would go to that, and that's really where I felt like I broke out in my community. Now, farmers markets are great for that last piece I just mentioned, which is because it's your community, right? Thinking about my brand, I wanted to be significant in my town, right? I could try to be significant in the state and in the country, but that's a tough task. How about I just start with my local neighborhood? How about I just start with being significant and known here, right? By the way, if I'm significant and I'm doing well in my neighborhood, I'm probably doing pretty good all together, right? So don't overlook being local. So farmers markets are great for that. $25 in my case is what it cost me to be there. I got a chance to have that face-to-face interaction, tell people this is what I do, this is what I don't do. Go to my website, check it out. And I did well for $25. I mean, I have to sell like two things and I'm back in the money again. And I got 4 hours of me getting feedback from customers firsthand. Good spend of my money, good spend of my time, right? The next thing after that was choosing shows and people they would call you and say, hey, can you join us at this pop-up? We're doing a pop-up at this coffee shop. Heck yeah, I'll go. And I did go to all of them and quickly learned that a lot of that was not worth my time, right? It wasn't worth my time to haul up my entire, we'll talk about our setups in a moment. It wasn't worth my time to haul up my entire setup, hour to get there, hour to set up, 2 hours on the ground talking, in this case, not talking to many people, and then an hour and a half, 2 hours to shut it all back down. It just wasn't worth it, right? You got to ask those questions. Why are you having the pop-up? Have you done this before? Do you have any experience in this? Are people familiar with coming to your pop-up and your show and your market, right? Do you have history of this? Do you have the vendors I could go back and ask about your event? Is this the first time you're doing this? If it is the first time you're doing this, Mr. or Mrs., pop-up host, how are you marketing this? Are you depending on me to market? Are you doing the marketing? All these different things you want to ask because, you want to make sure that there's going to be enough people there to support your business while you're there. Pop-ups are not all bad, though. Sometimes there's really great pop-ups. I think pop-ups can be really great for brand awareness, especially if it's hosted by a company or business that draws a crowd, right? The pop-ups I personally try to stay away from, and again, this is a personal thing, is I try to stay away from pop-ups hosted by companies that are done just for their employees. If you have experienced any of those where they say, hey, I'm so-and-so real estate agency in this town, and we want to do a holiday pop-up or market for our employees. 200 employees going to be there. And probably not going to go to that. They're not promoting it wide, didn't have enough market reach for me, just probably not a good use of my time. It may be a good use of your time, though. Depends on what you're selling. Okay. Other things I do look for, we have one here in the area called Freestyle. Freestyle was great. There are several markets in the Dallas market, DFW market. I keep on saying market a lot, but the marketplace as a whole, okay, Dallas Fort Worth area, that are very, very well known. One of them is called the Chi Omega event, right? Chi Omega, it's like a 2-week long marketplace. And it's very well known. And people come from far and wide just to be there for 2 weeks and sell. And the reason why people love going there is because people come there to shop. They come there because it's the place where people will come, then buy all the Christmas gifts for the entire season. One marketplace. In Houston, the big market for the season is called the Nutcracker Festival, a Nutcracker Marketplace. It's 3 weeks long also, right? People, grandmothers and families have been going there for years and years and years. They buy every one of their Christmas holiday gifts there. They're walking in with with racks of cash ready to spend. That's why they're there. That's a good place to be, right? You don't have to ask if people are there just sightseeing. No, they're there to spend money. I would like to be there. Now, as a result, it's very hard to get into that market, right? And you have to come, you got to look professional. Again, we'll talk about setups in a moment. But those are good markets to be in. If it has an established, history behind them, those are good ones to consider. Those are the ones you want to fight to try to get into. I'll be doing one this year called Jingle Bash. It's hosted by what used to be called in my area the Etsy Collective. These are all the people that used to sell their goods on Etsy. I've never sold on Etsy, but they were very kind to let me in. And they all come together and they hosted a local Etsy maker vendor marketplace. They do this twice a year. They do one in the spring, they do one in the fall, right? Good place to be. They're all business owners. They'll have a vested interest in having a great marketplace, and they do a lot of promotion to make sure they get people there. And they'll have people lined up around the building outside, before it even opens up at 9 a.m. People waiting again because they're coming there with money in hand, ready to spend. That's a place I want to be. Now, on top of that, brand awareness being a thing for me is I also know those are local customers that will support local businesses too, even after the marketplace. Okay, cool. Maybe buy a keychain for you today, but go to the website, go to the store later. I'm your guy. Good marketplaces to be. Okay, I'll pause in real quick and see if there's any questions. Is that helping you process a little bit about how to choose and questions to ask these people that invite you out to these marketplaces? Okay. All right, so let's talk real quick about product mix. This won't take very long. When it comes on to product mix, this is something else I learned through trial and error. My first few marketplaces and pops I did, I brought it all. I brought every bit of leather, every keychain, everything I had in my, and then I think I spent 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the night before, trying to make more stuff, right? And I brought it all, and I threw it all on the table, and I was like, I'm here, I've arrived, come by it, guys. What I found out, it was overwhelming. There was no organization to it. It required me to do too much explanation, right? Customers would walk by, they're like, I don't know what this guy's selling. He's just got a bunch of stuff on the table, right? Think about it from a consumer perspective. When you walk into the store, there's just a pile of stuff in front of you. It's hard to process. Okay, what is this? What are they really about? What does she make? I mean, she's got a ton of stuff on the table, but what does she actually make? What is she good at, right? Consider narrowing things down a little bit, right? What if you are in a position right now where you're trying to lean your business in a certain direction? Maybe that's belts, holsters, wallets, whatever. This is a great opportunity for you to start narrowing things down and say, hey, no, when I show up and I want the world to see me, I'm actually going to be a wallet maker. That's going to be the majority of what I have on my table, or a holster maker, or whatever. Yes, we're Leathercrafters, right? We can make almost anything. I get that, right? And that's the fun thing about it. But in terms of how we present ourselves to the business, how we present our businesses to the world, we do want to control that a little bit more. You hear me say about brand. A lot of times I say brand, people think about the logo. I'm not talking about your logo. I'm talking about your overall image that you're presenting as a business to, quote unquote, marketplace, right? Narrow things in. Consider narrowing things in. Having too much stuff on your table, being cluttered, being unorganized, does not allow the customer to process what they're seeing fast enough, right? If I have nothing but belts on the table, people see me as a belt maker. Cool, right? That's great. But if I'm really a wallet maker, or I want to be a wallet maker, maybe not the right thing, right? You got to position your product. So think about what you want to bring. It doesn't have to be everything. I also take a moment to mention another pitfall I had when I first started. I was so anxious to get sales that I took any sale that came my way. If someone says, hey, I like that wallet you have there, but man, I really wish it was in zebra print. I'm like, I can do it. I got it. No problem. And I'd go take a custom order and I then try to make this zebra print wallet or pink or whatever it is, right? Customers will always ask you for more. But you know what? If you don't give them more, if you don't give them those options, they'll still buy what's on the table, right? If you show up with just black, brown, and tan, which if you come to my shop, everything's black, brown, and tan, to a fault. I need to add some more colors to my mix for sure. But if I give them too many options, they'll talk about all those options and the benefit of this. Should I go the red thread or the pink thread? And all go on and on, and they'll walk out with nothing. Or I could just say, you know what? No, we have black, brown, and tan. And just wait. They'll say, okay, I'll take the tan one. Because I didn't overwhelm them with options. They don't know what you know about leather. They don't know what you know about crafting, right? Just because you can do it doesn't mean you have to do it. The other thing about offering too much stuff, in especially specifically offering custom, is just keep in mind if you offer custom at an event, you got to make that stuff when you get home. All right, that's tough. I can tell you many a night I would go do an event, I'd be overwhelmed. I was like, oh, I had a great show, I made all this money, and realize that actually now I made the money, but I got to go earn the money next, right? And I still got a pile of inventory that I hadn't sold yet because I was allowing for custom orders to come in or made to order orders to come in, and I've got to go make all of it, and I still got inventory over here. Consider, okay, for your business, and I don't know your businesses individually, but consider narrowing it down and saying, no, this is what I have to offer. If you're going to do custom, you may want to refine that a little bit and say, no, no, well, we can do made to order. It's not really custom. I can give you these two options because you know that those are easy for you to manage. Don't sell yourself into a corner that you're going to regret later. No sense in making all this money and doing a great job in markets and then going home realizing you hate your life because you've got to make 1,000 of these things you didn't really like making in the first place, right? Don't sell if you don't want to make it.
Are you able to see the chat
I just
there?
noticed that. Let me open that up real
Okay.
quick. I see one from.
There's a couple things popping up in there.
Oh, yeah, the last one for Braden and Misty, I believe Misty was there together.
Yeah, yeah.
Inventory is cash. That's absolutely right. You know, try to sell what you have. Now, I'd say that almost, that's another discussion we could have, custom versus, stock. I lean on the side of you should make what you love, make a product line that you're happy with, and sell that all day, every day. And don't do custom work. Custom work is exciting at times because we're creatives. We're all creatives in one way or another. We like that, variety, but we typically sell ourselves to the point where now we don't like what we're doing because we're having to crank out so much stuff. We're not sleeping. I don't sleep anyway. It's tough. So consider keeping it very narrow. Sell the inventory you have. I'd almost tell most people, if you haven't done this before, go make the things you love for months and all season long, and then you spend the holiday season selling that stuff before you start taking on more custom orders of anything. All right. Especially if you really don't have a vibe for what the marketplace wants from you. Let's see. Can you brand for more than one item, such as belts and gum? Yeah, absolutely. So yes, so brand. You don't have to be just one item specific, but it's nice for when people walk up to your booth. And again, we're going to talk about service in a minute. When they walk up to your booth, they have a general feeling for who you are. If I have horse tack, belts, holsters, boots, they all this up on my table or tables. Who is he? What does he do? Then I'll throw some vintage stuff on there also, and some other products I may have. And oh, my kid's trying to sell some. It's too much. When they walk up to your booth, your space, they should have a general sense of who you are as a brand, your personality, your vibe, and what it is you do. I make Western, themed purses. I'm a belt maker. Yes, I make belts, and guess what? People want holsters. Yes, you can do two things at once for sure, but there needs to be some type of a storyline between them, continuity between all these items, right? If you walk up to my booth and you see I've got 90% of, I don't know, maybe in my case it would be, well, probably wallets, right? But then I've got this random holster on the side, maybe a really good holster, but it just doesn't match. It just doesn't fit the vibe. It doesn't really fit in with my brand. And that's something that makes customers pause. If we're all at a show together, they're not really going to be buying from us based on our quality. They'll be buying from us based on whether or not they connect with our brands and who we are or not. Right. And honestly, I think we can all go to shows together, right? I mean, it's not about being the only leather worker, it's about being the right leather worker for that particular customer. So make sure you put your brand up front. All right, so that's a product mix. Be careful in your product mix. Make sure you don't overwhelm customers with too much stuff. If you do have a lot of inventory, my wife had to check me on this many, many times. Don't put it all on the table at once. You don't have to pile it onto the table. You can keep some in reserve. In fact, it's nice to have some reserve and you pull it out as you're selling things. Sell out of your inventory as much as possible. No sense in taking home that cash. I think as Braden and Missy put in the chat there, inventory is cash. That's where you're really going to feel like you're making some money. It never felt to me like I was making money when I sold a custom project at the show and then had to go home and make it. I feel like it just didn't feel like, I hadn't earned the money yet, right? So sell the inventory whenever you can. All right, booth setups. This is important. This is where things really start coming together. You've all been to shows. I've been to many shows, and they have some common themes you see. There's some people, there's usually the newbies They don't have a clue what they're doing, and then there's people that have been doing it for years and years and years. You can usually tell the difference between the newbies are kind of walking around in circles trying to figure it. They're like chickens with their head cut off, and the people that have been doing it for years are sitting there looking grumpy the whole time, right? All right, that's what happens, right? They've been doing it for so long, they just look sour and grumpy, and you're like, ugh, I don't know if I really want to do business with these people, right? Remember, first impressions matter, right? Some of us can have these big setups and booths and all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about those. But really, the biggest part of your setup needs to be your personality and your attitude about being there. Confidence in who you are, confidence in your products, confidence that you're bringing something of value to the marketplace, right? And you'd be happy that you're talking to customers, right? The people that set up the table, we've all seen it. They'll set up a plastic folding table. They'll put a pile of stuff in there, and they'll sit back in their chair like this, and they're just waiting for the world to come to them the whole time. You walk by, they don't look you in the eye, they don't stand up, they don't talk to you. They're just waiting, believing that their products alone and the things that they have in their head is enough to push their business forward. Truth be told, it's just not. That's not people. The people are not connecting with your products. They're connecting with you and the product, right? So what I would tell everyone is, I know this will be tough for a lot of people here, is get rid of the chairs. Get rid of the chairs, right? And I'll tell you, if you come to my booth, I've done some markets that are 8 hours long, and I've been by myself. I will not sit down one time, and I hate it in my head. I hate it the whole time, granted, right? But you stand up, if at all possible, stand up and be welcoming. People come to you and say, "Hello, how are you?" I'm not a salesman. I feel like I'm a crap salesman, but I can at least talk to everyone that walks by. I don't care who you are. I don't care how you look. I don't care if you look like you have money. In fact, the people that look like they don't have money are usually the ones that spend the most money with you, right? Just a little tangent real quick. People often ask me, if you know anything about me and my business, I've been very blessed with some good publicity over the years and some great orders and things like that. More often than not, those big orders, like we're finishing off a piece outside right now for 3,000 pieces for Rivian, the electric car company. That order came from something I did 4 or 5 years ago at a marketplace. Okay. Maybe I sold a keychain or something at the market, but really it was a conversation I had with the person that they remembered me. They thought I was pleasant. And it was enough for them to say, I have a need 4 years later. I'm going to give them a call. That's where the opportunities come from, folks. It's not just the money you make it that day. It's what comes after that. And part of that is being welcoming, talking to everyone as if they're valuable. I can tell you a story of people coming up to the booth and they look like they're homeless. I don't care. Treat them the same way. Have the same conversation with them. I don't care. Someone drives up in a Bentley or F-250, whatever. They've got all the bling in the world. I'm going to treat them the exact same way. I have the same conversation and patience with them as I would the person who looks like they're homeless. And I won't, by the way, the person that looks like they're homeless, I'm not going to let anyone draw me away from them because I'm looking for another opportunity. There's always another opportunity. You take your opportunities in front of you right here and there. Treat them all the same way. Talk to them. Give them the time. Now, you do have people you got to kind of move on every now and then, right? Because they're just taking too much time. But that's a different set of issues. Treat everyone the same way. You don't have a clue where your money's coming from. All right. So that's one. Stand up, be welcoming. I have a spiel that I kind of said. I bet you the people that are commonly next to me when I do these pop-ups, they probably get here. I'm like a broken record all day long. Hello, welcome to Old Leather Goods. I say welcome to Old Leather Goods when I do the pop-ups. It's not your store. No, it's my store for a day. It is. Yes, it is. When you walk in this 10-foot by 10-foot square, this is my store. And I treat it so welcome to Old Leather Goods. Come on in. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer all your questions for you. Over and over again, all day long. Smile on my face, not sitting down. I don't hover, but I will tell people if you have any questions. I'm right here. And I'm just watching them. And if they have a problem, I'll answer real quick. They knock something over, I go pick it up, whatever. Really casual, not pushy. That's how I do things, not pushy. If they ask questions about it, in the process, I'm happy to go into that with them. I'm hoping that my setup and the signage I have, and we'll talk about signage more in a moment, that I have my table is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Personally, as a customer, I don't want to have to figure out what the price is. I don't want to have to figure out what something is at all, right? Having a little label on the table and next to the item that says what the price is or what it is does a lot of heavy lifting for you. Even in my retail stores, same thing, right? I can put all the wallets in there. To me, they're obvious. It's a wallet. They're all wallets, right? Not to everyone, right? Everyone, oh, it's a coin pouch. Well, sure, it's a coin pouch, but it's also a wallet. So having a label that says wallet answers their questions, right? When you walk into a retail store, often people say, "Hey, is there anything I can help you with?" By default, you typically say, "No, I'm good." Customers at markets do the same thing. They don't really want to be sold. They think you're going to sell them. So you don't hit them with that. You just hit them with, "I'm here if you have any questions." But welcome. How you doing? Kids love kids. I love kids when they have kids in the booth. Moms walk out with kids, and moms are usually losing their mind, trying to control their kids or slapping kids on the hand. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I got that. I love that. You know what I do? I give them a little piece of leather. I even retail, so I have a stack, I have a bowl of little Texas. I'm a Texan, so you probably know I'm a Texan because I tell you, I'm gonna tell you every 5 minutes I'm a Texan, of course. That's what we do. By the way, I'm a Texan if you didn't know that. I have a bucket of these little, they're about 1 inch by 1 inch Texas shapes cut out. And they're there. And the girls, when there's a kid walks in, you see the mom stressed out in her face. She's trying to enjoy herself. She's trying to take it all in, but she's managing a kid. Giving that kid that little piece of leather gives her 45 seconds to 5 minutes of time to take in the rest of the world. It's just scrap, right? But having little things like that you can do, little giveaway, especially the kids, goes a long way. And that kid's gonna be playing with that thing that you give them. Like, it needs to be of no cost to you. The little Texas squares are nothing for me. I give them out, and it's gonna keep the kid occupied. And that kid will still be talking about the leather piece I gave him, he or her, an hour from now, which basically means he's talking about me an hour from now, which hopefully means that mom's gonna remember that someone's kind of, it all plays and rolls together, right? I want them to remember me. They come back. So your booths have something you can give away of little or no cost. Little cutouts you have here, little trinkets that don't really cost you anything, things you can make out of scrap, right? Almost anything doesn't matter. It could be it could literally be a leather circle just to hand a little kid, here, play with this for a few minutes. Kids will play with anything, all right? Have that. It gives the parents time to look and take in what else you have. The other thing you want to do at your booth, if possible, especially if it's a slower moving event, some events are slow, that's fine, is have something to work on while you're there. You're standing up, of course, right? But in between standing up, maybe there's not a customer there, be working on something. Typically for me, I've kind of ebbed and flowed on this. At one time I brought a whole freaking sewing machine to the event. Don't do that. It's a lot, right? It's heavy, not worth the value. Although it did generate a lot of noise and got a lot of attention, right? Which is good. That's a good thing for pop-ups and markets, but it was too much to manage. Instead, what I would do more often than not is I'd have a tree stump, and I'd be cutting belt ends on it. I got a rack of belts already to go, but I would cut belts to size there as well. It makes noise. It's performative. It gets people attention. They will literally sit back and watch you do this all day long, right? That's what you want. You want to generate a little bit of a crowd around you. You want people hanging out. You want people looking at you because when other people see them looking at your booth, they all say, well, what do they know that I don't know? I want to go figure that out too. So have something you're working on. If you hand make everything, you hand stitch everything, set up a stitching pony there and hand stitch throughout the day. Now, say throughout the day, what's really going to happen is, in my case at least, I start stitching up a wallet, I'd still be stitching up that wallet 8 hours later. This same doggone wallet. I'd never get anything done because as soon as you start stitching, someone's going to ask you a question, you stop and talk. But that's the whole point of that is to be performative, right? You look busy. Busier people are happier people at these events. Okay, it looks more welcoming, so you're not just standing there sitting behind your table, mad because it's lunch, you're hungry. Hey, we chose this life. We chose to be there. Let's be happy about it, right? We're happy about the prospect. So show the world you're happy. Don't just sit back there being mad. Instead, do something productive. And let people ask you about it. What are you making? I'm making a wallet. Like all the wallets on this table here, they're all hand stitched and handmade. I made these myself. It's a conversation starter. If you're not, when they walk in, you're not stitching something, you say, I know I made this thing, and here's how I make it. I use saddle stitch. Here's how I do that. Ways to generate conversations. Feel free to take a picture. You can learn this too. Blah, 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 blah. Conversation starters. Okay. So just to recap some of these things, stand up if at all possible. Be welcoming. Have your spiel that you're going to say. People walk in, or you're going to welcome them to your store and your brand. This is the first time they're going to see your brand. Be productive. Keep moving, right? Whenever possible, even when people aren't there. Do something that gives a little bit of show. If that thing that you're doing also makes a noise, even better. Right? It just draws people in. People want to know what's going on. I will make a racket hammering the same belt all day long if it gets people's attention. Okay? Because they're going to say, what is that noise? I've been hearing that all day. For this year, I do have some marks we'll be doing branding on site. Branding is a visual, and it also has a smell. People are gonna say, "What is that smell?" Right? There's that noise that comes from the blowtorch we use. Yeah, it doesn't cost me really anything to do that. While they're there watching me burn the same piece of leather all day long, over and over again, they're gonna be looking at the other stuff on my table as well. That's where the sales come from, and it's also something they're gonna remember later. So it's very important. I tend to tell people don't create walls in their booths. What I mean by that is the traditional thing is class table, stuff on table, and I sit behind the table and I wait for people to come to me. I'd rather be in front of the table. Remember, they're buying not just your price, but they're also buying your personnel. They're buying your brand. You are the brand at this point, right? So maybe come out from behind the table. People have a question. Don't just lean over the table all day long, right? Walk from around the table and go talk to them face to face. Have you ever been to the really high-end retail stores? They never hand you the bag over the cash wrap. Have you noticed that? They walk from around the cash wrap out to where you are. They hand you the bag and say, "Here you go, ma'am. Here you go, sir. Thank you for your purchase today." It's just more personable. Come out from behind the wall. The wall is a comfortable place to be. I actually, most people wouldn't know this, but I'm an introvert. I'd rather be in my workshop all day long by myself, no one else around. Okay. But that's not the business we're in. That may be the craft. You can do that as a craft, but if you want to do business, you gotta get out from behind the wall. And what gets me motivated to put myself out there in the marketplace, and what gets me motivated to talk to some people is because I love the business I'm in, and I want my business to do well. Okay, I got to flip a switch. I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna smile all day long, right? And we're gonna talk and we're gonna spiel. What people don't know is at the end of the show, I pass out in my car. I'm like, "Oh God, I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this again." Right? That's me in my car on the way home. Okay. Right? But that's on the way home. While I'm at the show, we're working. And working requires me to talk, be present, be personable, and have those conversations all day long, even if that's not my normal thing. So if you have a booth set up, maybe consider making it a U shape, where there's U facing out, and you ask people to come in. Again, I treat that 10 by 10 square, because usually 10 by 10 squares, I treat that as my store. Welcome to Old Leather Goods. I'm asking you to come in. I don't want you on the peripheral of that 10 by 10 square. I want you inside the square. Once you're inside the square, you're in my space, and I control that. I'm going to have my branding and my signs up and things like that. I'm there. We're going to talk a certain way. We're going to do things a certain way. You are going to feel like you're at an Old Leather Goods store at all possible. Right? So come out from behind the table and don't put up walls. One of the walls some people like to do, they like to build their products up really, really tall, and so you can only see their head above it. Come from around the wall. Be up front. Be the person you are and the person that led the brand. I'm going to pause and read through some of these questions because I know I'm missing some. I'm going to start, go back to people want to buy products that blends with their beliefs. Absolutely. Another way of saying that people want to buy, they like buying products, they like buying from brands that they feel a connection to, whatever that thing is. It could be a belief, it could be ideology, it could be a lifestyle, whatever. If I go to a show that is with a bunch of horse people, right? And I show up and I'm uptown Odin Clack and I've got my fancy, downtown Dallas wares, right? And there's a guy next to me making belts and there's something a little more Western, a little more horse tech. They're probably going to that person because that may be more aligned with their lifestyle. That goes back to picking the right show. Pick shows where you feel like you can make connection with these customers. But remember, they're making connection with the products, but also with you as a brand. So be that. There's more to that whole branding thing later, which means if you ever find yourself in a position one day where you have to be at more than one show at a time, having a really good established brand presence and knowing who you are is important because whoever you ask to help you out today, you need to have them maintain that. Another quick little tangent is when I finally had the gumption to ask people to help me, even my wife, she'll tell you this, to join me at shows, I was really insistent. I'd say it a certain way. I'd say, "Sweetheart, I'd prefer that you say it like this. I prefer that you do it like this." And she would say, "What's the big deal?" The big deal is, while you're not wrong with how you're doing it, it's just not consistent with how I'm doing it and how we're doing it for the brand. Right? She totally gets it now. And now actually she shifts me around just as much as I shift her around. But you want to be consistent with these things, right? Because that's what they're going to remember. notes later. I'll talk to Derek about that. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, if you build it, they will come. Is false. If you build it and you sell it and you remind them about it consistently, you talk about it over and over and over and over and over again ad nauseum, they may come. Is how we like to say that, right? Building it alone is not what's going to get them there. Being a good business person and marketer and being consistent with your story and your product line and your overall brand is what's going to get them to come. That's the important part. There's more to that, but I'll stop there. So, booth setup. Created you, invite them in. Labels on tables. Make sure your prices are clearly labeled so people don't have to ask you questions. Because it's uncomfortable. Think about when you go shopping. Do you like asking for the price all the time and having to show the person your reaction? Put it out there in front. Okay. Now, pricing. Really, this is really, really important to me. We won't talk about most of you probably selling your stuff too cheap anyway. All right. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. You got to fix that problem. All right. Your work and your time is more valuable than you believe it is. And most of you are selling yourselves short on that. All right. It's funny when you come to my shop, you're like, I can't believe you're selling that belt for 95 bucks. I sell mine for 35. That's your fault. That's your fault. Okay. Same belt, same leather. You just don't have confidence in your work. Right. And by the way, my confidence does wane at times as well. And people have to remind me of this all the time too. But your work is more valuable than you think it is. So I'm going to talk a little crap right now. Big crap here. Okay. Which is, I don't believe you should haggle with customers. Set a price for your items. Be confident that you have a price and that you're delivering value that matches with that item. Right. And then hold strong. Now, this is tough. If you're starting off, because, I know when I started off, I was like, no, I want that sale. Okay, I start at 50 and we get down to 35 bucks. We get down to 25 bucks. I just need a sale. I got to pay bills this week, right? That's usually what's in the back of my mind, right? But honestly, you may not see it where you are currently, but it does come back to bite you in the butt later because now you're expected to sell those items at a cheaper discounted price. And you've also just devalued yourself and your work. And it's hard to come out of that hole later. Now, I'm not telling you to be absorbent with your prices. I'm not telling you to try to rip people off. No, I believe you sell your products for a good value. The value and the product, they need to match, obviously, right? But I won't haggle with customers in front of me. I will say, I understand. Well, let me know when you can afford it. If I'm trying to be a butthead, I'll say, let me know when you can afford it. Or what I say more often than not is, I'm here when you're ready. No problem, I understand. I'm here when you're ready. And I stop. I have confidence in my pricing. Now, when they leave, right, I may be like, oof, did I make a mistake? Did I do something wrong here? I may make some adjustments, but I won't haggle with a customer up front. I will occasionally bundle things together. I was like, okay, well, maybe my $95 belt is whatever. Okay, well, but if you put these two things together, it's great value, but really the price is not changing at all. I'll just kind of help them add some more things on and bundle things together, and then makes them feel like they're getting a better value. But I won't haggle with customers up front because there's a customer behind them watching and hearing what you're doing, and now you've devalued for customer A, and you devalue for customer B and C, and you're in a hole the rest of the day. And when you stick to your prices and you say, no, this is a good price. I understand. You can get on Amazon cheaper. Fair. That sounds like a good deal. Maybe you should do that. I don't crap on anybody's prices. You'll never hear me badmouth anyone's prices. You would never hear me say, that something somebody shouldn't buy something or why I'm better. I won't do that. I stand tall on what I have. And I have confidence. And you will see people will like, he's not moving. Maybe it is more valuable than I thought. I'm here when you're ready. Oftentimes they're ready 5 minutes later, they'll leave and they'll come right back and buy it anyway. Right? But if you flinch, right, if they come to you and they give you the ooh face because you told them that your bag is 200 bucks, you've already lost the battle there, right? Don't flinch, right? You are worth what you're selling your products for. You are worth it, okay? And again, most of you are selling it too cheap anyway because you're not, for a number of reasons, but don't flinch. Put your price out there, be confident, be strong with your price. And if they don't like it, okay, no problem. I'm here when you're ready. Talk to the next customer. Didn't sell anything all day long? It's okay, right? Don't flinch in your prices. If you need to adjust later, but not in front of the customer. Now, here's a very non-intuitive trick. I don't want to say it's a trick. I don't know. It's some psychology. And some of you may have heard me tell the story before. I have a stool, a 3-legged stool that I've made. I don't really make a lot of them right now. It is a camp stool. Okay, 3 legs, triangular, shape on top. At 150 bucks, at 150 bucks, can't sell one of them at some of these events. I have one event I go to, it's called Flea Styles, a big event. There's probably 50, 60 vendors there, and a pretty high-end event. 150 bucks, I can't sell one of those stools at that event. Okay, I'm worried. I've got 12 of them out here. I spent all this time making them. Like, I don't understand why people don't like these. They're pretty stools. I think I did good work, but they're not selling. Okay, all right. So your gut tells you I got to lower the price. Well, no, I don't lower the price. I raise the price. Can't sell them at 150, but at 325, I sell them all day long. You know why? The perceived value changes in the customer's mind. At 150, that's way too much money to spend on a stool. I'm gonna sit in the middle of the field on, right? Throw in the back of my truck. At 325, now it's an interior piece. It's a design piece some interior designer is gonna buy because it looks pretty in the room. Same stool, different presentation. Now, does that work for you? Maybe it does, maybe it does not, right? Something to consider. Before you lower your prices, you out of fear usually, and start dropping prices, consider there's a tweak you can make to how you're presenting it. In the retail stores, I have places where I have a wallet that I'll put on one corner, one table, will not sell all day long. I won't sell it at all. If I just shift it 45 degrees and I move it to the table next to it, it'll sell all day. Sometimes it's the presentation that's dictating whether or not customers are buying, not necessarily your pricing or some other variable. So before you start changing prices, consider moving things around. Maybe they're not buying because there's too much stuff on the table. They can't process everything. They can't process what's in front of them. Take some things off the table. Retail, we have boxes of like a leather conditioner we'll put out. We never put out whole boxes of leather conditioner. You know why? A full box does not tell the customer that it's selling. Take a couple items out of the box. It is a signal that things are moving. I see Beth is raising her hands. I think she's agreeing with me. Little things like that have a huge impact on how things
One
sell.
one or two of that item that's something that you've purchased that you're going to resell. One or two of that item, do they think, oh, well, he's only got two left, and maybe I really do need that now.
Yeah. Now, also like that is if I only have one item left, like I have some books in the store, my stores, and I have some books I'd put on the pop-up shelves. We've kind of scaled it back a lot recently. If I only have one of those books out, won't sell at all. If I have a bunch of them out with other books, they sell much better because it's signaling to the customer that, hey, no, he sells these periodicals, he sells these books. There's something of value there. One of them is like, is it a piece of decor? Is it decoration? Did some other customer leave it here on accident? Right? All these things, this is how we all shop. This is not just pop-up people. This is how we all shop. And it works the same. Pop-up, market, craft show, whatever you choose to do, same rules are going to apply. All right. So consider that. And pricing, we've already talked about that. Let's see. All right. So Derek, I think we're about 45 minutes in. I'm rambling and I can go on and on, but let me pause. Is there any questions, any direct questions anyone has about something I've talked about or maybe I haven't covered yet?
I put a note in here, like basically I had a client that came to me and was like, hey, here's this belt. And he sent me the picture from like he found it on some like site. And I went and looked at it and I was like, okay. And I literally wrote down and sat down and was like, okay, at bare minimum, it's going to cost me twice of what that belt cost them there. And I told him I couldn't do it. And he was just like, oh, okay. But I wasn't going to devalue my products because and here's the thing that I learned because when I first made something for him, I had devalued myself on it.
Mhm.
So he thought I guess he just thought my stuff was just cheap, but that's not the case. I had to remake his bag twice. So
Yeah.
but that's the thing is I learned something from that and I went, okay, nope, I can't make it for that or less. This is how much I can make it for. If you
That
want me to
is,
make it, it'll be better quality,
yeah.
but
Take a stance, and this is tough. And folks, I deal with this daily also. I mean, honestly, the girls, I call them collectively the girls, all the young ladies that work up front, they do a very good job of being gatekeepers for me. And they give me I swear, some days I feel like I'm working for them because they give me the ugly look, from across the room, like, dude, do not take that job because the last two, you didn't have time for it. You should be working on other things. And they're absolutely right. Don't devalue yourself, charge full price, put the price out there and hold to it. And I think I personally think it's an opinion, but that you come across looking better when you say, that's just not a good project for me. I don't think I could fit that project in. I don't think I can do it for that price. But you know what? Hey, good luck for it. Do you maybe go shop with the persons who you're showing me right now? They
He
obviously got
also
it
wanted
down.
and he also wanted it in 2 weeks, and I had other projects in front of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and
And
now
I was honest. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to get that done."
for when it comes down to custom work, when you're sitting at your table in your booth, you got all this inventory in front of you. Someone's asking you for a custom item. You're like, I could do that. But this happens to me regularly as well. I like doing cool stuff. But don't be mistaken. I want to do cool stuff. I want to learn more. I want to get better at the craft. You know, someone comes with a cool idea. It's like, yeah, I want to try that. But for the time it takes me to build that, let's say, custom bag, right? I could build 100 of my normal bag and sell them at full price, or I can build one custom bag and maybe sell it at a good price. But it's still, I get more value business wise out of selling my inventory, selling my stock. Right. So you got to consider those type of things. It's nice to do cool stuff. It's nice to be challenged. But are you being challenged as a hobbyist? You're being challenged as a business. As a business owner, my goal is to turn a profit and get the inventory off my shelf. Um, let's see. All right. So No's question here from Corpus. I notice people have business names at these places. I don't know if you can maybe ask a. I'm not sure I quite understand the question there. Is it to say I own personal business like Odin Leather Goods and show up with that versus like just a name? Is that what you're talking about there?
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, awesome. Thank you for doing this for us.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
I noticed that people have business names, I guess, for
Oh, we lost No. Let's make some assumptions about what he was going to ask. All right. I do think overall, if your goal is to grow a business, you should consider giving yourself a name for sure, and referring to yourself that way. There's another discussion about why you should or should not name it after yourself. I named my business after myself. Years later, 15 years later, wish I hadn't done that. Different class. We can talk about that at a different time. But give yourself a name and put that out front. There is some advantages to not being the person connected to the name. So when people, like in my case, people come up to Odin Leather Good, right? Odin Leather Goods. Um, it's a compliment. They connect me, but at times when I'm not there, they have a tough time. They don't want to talk. It took them a while to understand that Odin Leather Goods is now not just Odin. It includes Rochelle and Brandon and Drew and all these other people, right? So be mindful about the name. Make sure your names are things that you can easily share. It will be great, in my opinion, that your names, you need to have a way to connect it back to what you're selling. Odin Leather Goods. These abstract names. You need to have a byline underneath it or something just people need to understand what it is, right? That's a presentation thing. So consider that. Some of the events you do need to have insurance. There are a number of vendors out there that will provide you 1 day insurance packages, like $25 or whatever, and cover your insurance needs at these events. A business or a market that's asking you to have proof of insurance, that's not necessarily a bad sign. That's actually can be a good sign that they have enough writing on their event. They have enough history of the event that they know they should ask all of you to bring your own insurance. They have some liability concerns. That may be a good signal for you to consider. You can get online and do pop up marketplace insurance things. They're pretty cheap, like $25 here and there. You don't have to get them for a whole year. You can get them for just the event, but you have to shop around for them. My business insurance will cover me personally, so we don't do that right now, but it is not a bad thing to have. Okay. Any other questions? Formulas for pricing. Vicky, I see your question there. That's a tough question. It's going to be hard to get into that now. I know on Loom there's already some pricing classes. I would encourage you to take a look at those. And there's some other resources out there you can look at. Pricing is a whole nother ballgame. In terms of pricing today, I would just tell you, don't sell yourself short just to chase after one sale. Right? That's what we all do. We're all nervous. We don't want people to walk away from our table telling the world that we're too expensive. I'm okay being too expensive. In fact, I lean the direction now. People come in, they are hesitant about my pricing. I was like, yep, I sell everything at a premium. And I say it with my full chest out, head up high, at a premium. Well, it would be great if we do this, and this is so simple. Like, well, if you would like that product, right? What I'll have to do is this guy here is selling it for half your price. Well, he's a different guy, different state. But if you really like it, I'm sure he's out here hustling just like I am, providing for his family as I am. Please, you should consider go support that guy or gal. Those statements you make to a customer, it means the world. I mean, it really sets a tone for how they're going to look at you the rest of the engagement.
They see you as a different person. They see it as, okay, he's willing to back someone else that has no idea. And okay, if they can give it to you for that price,
Yeah,
go right ahead.
yeah.
And that was kind of what happened with me. So
In terms of backing up people, here's another thing I would say about pop-ups. Oftentimes, it's the same people at all the shows. You'll see the same vendors, one show after another show after another show. Be kind to those vendors. Go love on them. They're hustling just like you are. Go talk to them. Ask them how they're doing. They will be some of your biggest supporters in the future. They will refer people to you it just happens, right? They'll buy. I've gone to events where I've sold out all my bags before the show even started because the ladies at the events bought all the bags before we even started. I had to ask them, hey, can you leave some here? I'll put a sold sign on it so no one takes it, but I'm not going to have anything to fill the booth out, right? They are doing the same thing. Go support them. And also, when people are at your booth and they're hemming and hawing about this and that, you can say, hey, have you checked out Sue over here with so-and-so Creative and Collective? She has some really great things. You're going to love it. It's far easier to talk about other people than it is to talk about yourself all day long. At least for me, it is, right? So figure out who's around you, talk to those people, support people around you. And if you don't have anything else to say, offer something of value to the customer. And that value may just be, if you haven't seen Joe at the end of this aisle to the right selling whatever, you should definitely go check him out.
Well, this has been a great discussion. Thank you, Odin. It sounds like we hit a hot topic here, so we'll have to get you back. I know we spoke about some of this stuff in detail, and those will be coming out in a short form class here, probably about January next year, with the project we did when we
Hopefully my
showed up.
notes today match up with those. I know I ramble. There's always so much to talk about.
Everything checks out. You haven't
Okay, all right.
we don't need to go back
I
and
didn't switch
edit
anything up on you.
anything.
Okay.
You were it all checks out. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. I will do my best to kind of go through the questions here. We'll make sure our instructional designer sees them. And these are really helpful in helping us find out what you guys want to learn next. But yeah, let's carry on this conversation in the community, and we'll do our best on the Illumin to point you to some resources within the community currently, and give you updates on what is coming here in the near future. And with that, everybody have a great evening, and I think we're all gonna sign out. Thanks
Thanks
again.
all.
Thank you,
Until
Odin.
next time. See you.
Thank you,
My pleasure.
Loden.
Thanks,
Always
Odin.
my pleasure.